The sun climbs over the cold horizon. It casts a long shadow from a single massive stone. A person stands before it, a fleeting visitor in the presence of an ancient giant. They raise a hand, but do not touch the weathered surface just yet. The stone is impossibly old. It has watched civilizations rise and crumble. It has seen languages born and then fade into silence. This monolith, and thousands like it across our planet, poses a question that echoes through time. How did our ancestors, with the simple tools we believe they had, achieve such monumental feats of engineering? This is more than just a question about rocks. It is a question about our own past, and the possibility of forgotten knowledge. These megalithic sites are scattered across the globe. Verdant fields of England, the high plains of the Andes, the sun-scorched deserts of Egypt, Göbekli Tepe, Stonehenge, Sacsayhuaman. The sheer scale is one thing. The precision is another. The conventional explanation for the great stoneworks is one of brute force, ingenuity, and immense human labor. Archaeologists paint a picture of highly organized societies, capable of mobilizing thousands of workers for a single project. The toolkit was simple but effective. Stone hammers to quarry blocks from bedrock, wooden levers to pry them loose, ropes to move the stones, made from plant fibers or animal hides, dragging massive stones across the landscape. This view emphasizes human determination and the power of collective effort, suggesting that with enough time and enough people, almost anything is possible. A story of grit and sweat, ramps, rollers. Evidence exists at sites around the world. Egyptian illustrations of men hauling colossal statues on wooden sledges. Paintings showing the ground being lubricated with water to reduce friction. Quarries with half-finished blocks still attached to bedrock. Close-up marks from dolerite pounding. Remnants of earthen ramps at Giza. These findings form the bedrock of the standard model. The model relies on simple physics. Levers multiply force. Rollers reduce friction. Ramps let you trade distance for less effort. Experiments have tested these ideas. A team in the 1990s attempted to move a Stonehenge-sized stone with Neolithic tech. They moved a 40-ton block a short distance using volunteers, wooden tracks, and plenty of grease. Demonstrations show it's physically possible with simple tools. For many, that's proof enough. But the explanation phrase at the edges for extreme examples. What about the 200-ton stone of the south at Baalbek? What about the machine-like cuts on granite boxes in the Serapeum of Saqqara? The conventional model struggles with scale and precision of the largest megaliths. Manpower and simple machines are part of the story, but some researchers say that's not the whole story. The evidence on the ground pushes the limits of ropes and ramps. The stones do not give up their secrets easily. They demand that we ask better questions, that we look closer, and that we keep our minds open to possibilities that might at first seem impossible. This is more than just a question about rocks. It is a question about our own past, and the possibility of forgotten knowledge. One of the more speculative, yet fascinating theories suggests that ancient builders mastered the power of sound. This is the idea of acoustic levitation. It proposes that specific frequencies, when generated with enough power and focus, can create standing waves. Those standing waves could, in theory, counteract gravity, allowing massive objects to be lifted and moved with ease. This might sound like science fiction, but the principle is demonstrated on a small scale in modern laboratories. Scientists can use powerful ultrasonic emitters to suspend small droplets of water. They can also hold tiny particles of foam in mid-air. The question is whether this effect can be scaled up to lift objects weighing many tons. This idea is not new. It echoes in ancient legends from around the world. Tibetan monks are said to have used giant horns and precise chanting to lift blocks up mountainsides. A 10th century Arab historian, al-Masudi, wrote of a magic papyrus that made stones travel through the air. Different cultures, separated by distances and time, share a similar sound-based construction concept. Could these myths be the distorted memory of a real, forgotten technology? Proponents point to the unique acoustic properties of many megalithic sites. Chambers within pyramids often have remarkable resonant frequencies. Ancient temples show the same behavior. Even stone circles can amplify specific tones. When certain tones are produced, the sound is massively amplified. Some speculate builders engineered these spaces as resonant instruments to generate sonic energies needed to manipulate and position stones. Another compelling alternative theory challenges the very nature of the stones themselves. What if the largest and most perfectly fitted blocks were not carved and lifted at all? What if they were cast in place, like modern concrete? This is the core of the geopolymer theory, proposed by the French scientist Joseph Davidovits. He argues that ancient builders possessed a sophisticated recipe for a type of high-quality concrete. They would quarry softer rock, crush it, mix it with a binder like natron lime, add water, and then pour the slurry into wooden molds set up right on the construction site. This idea elegantly solves several major mysteries. First, it eliminates the need to transport impossibly heavy stones over long distances. The raw materials could be brought to the site in smaller, manageable loads. Second, it explains the incredible precision of the joints. By casting one block directly against its already hardened neighbor, a perfect fit could be achieved every time, with no need for painstaking carving and sanding. This would be a far more efficient method for creating the seamless, mortarless walls we see at sites like Sacsayhuaman in Peru. The stones fit together like a puzzle because they were literally molded to one another. Evidence for this theory comes from microscopic analysis of the stones. When samples from some Egyptian pyramid blocks were examined under an electron microscope, researchers found minerals air bubbles that appeared inconsistent with natural stone. They observed materials that seemed to have been rapidly crystallized, similar to the process in cement, rather than slowly formed by geological pressure over millions of years. Some samples even contained things like human hair, which would be impossible in natural granite, but perfectly plausible if it fell into a wet mixture before it set. These anomalies suggest that some of the stones may indeed be artificial. However, the geopolymer theory is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Many, if not most, megalithic stones around the world show clear evidence of being quarried. We can see the tool marks, the stress fractures, and the distinct geological layers that prove they were cut from a natural source. For example, the giant obelisks of Egypt were clearly carved in one piece from the Aswan quarry. So, while geopolymer concrete might explain some of the blocks in the Great Pyramid, or the walls in Peru, it cannot explain all megalithic structures. It remains a powerful but partial theory, suggesting that ancient builders may have had multiple advanced techniques in their toolkit. The feeling of awe these sites inspire is universal. It connects us directly to the people who built them so long ago. Standing in the shadow of a great trilithon at Stonehenge, you can feel the weight of ages. You can almost hear the echoes of the builders, their chants, their labor, their purpose. What drove them to dedicate so much effort to these structures? Echoes of a drowned world. The lost civilization theory. Perhaps the most dramatic theory is also the most difficult to prove. This is the idea the great megaliths were not built by the Neolithic or Bronze Age peoples we know, but by the survivors of a much older, highly advanced global civilization. This civilization, the theory goes, was destroyed in a great cataclysm, such as the sudden end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago. The survivors, scattered and diminished, retained some of their ancestral knowledge and used it to create or influence the construction of these great stone monuments. The sites, therefore, are a legacy, an inheritance from a lost chapter of the human story. This idea draws on the many ancient myths of a great flood or fire that wiped out a previous golden age of humanity. Plato wrote of Atlantis, a mighty island empire that sank beneath the waves in a single day and night of misfortune. In India, ancient texts speak of previous epochs of civilization. These stories, found in cultures all over the world, are often dismissed as mere fables. But what if they are a form of collective memory, a distorted account of a real global catastrophe that reset human history. This theory posits that sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dated to nearly 12,000 years ago, are the smoking gun, a massive, sophisticated stone complex built by hunter-gatherers right at the end of the Ice Age. Further fuel for this theory comes from apparent anomalies in the geological and archaeological records. Some researchers point to evidence of massive global flooding at the end of the Younger Dryas period, a time of extreme climate instability. They point to ancient maps, like the Piri Reis map of 1513, which appears to show the coast of Antarctica free of ice, a condition that has not existed for thousands of years. The suggestion is that this knowledge was passed down from a civilization that mapped the world before the ice sheets fully formed. The megalithic sites, often aligned to the stars of a much earlier epoch, are seen as the last will and testament of these lost architects. The problem with this theory is the absence of a body. Despite the tantalizing clues, we have found no definitive, unambiguous ruins of this hypothetical lost civilization. We have not found their cities, their tools, their writings. Mainstream archaeology argues that if such a technologically advanced society existed, it would have left a much larger and more obvious footprint in the geological record. Without this direct evidence, the lost civilization hypothesis remains in the realm of speculation. The official story. A quick look at mainstream archaeology. Mainstream archaeology provides a coherent, evidence-based framework. It asserts megaliths were built by the cultures we associate them with. Neolithic Britons, Stonehenge. Old Kingdom Egyptians, Giza pyramids. Grounded in decades of meticulous fieldwork. Archaeologists excavated workers' living quarters. They analyzed tools. They studied burial sites. Carbon dating of organic materials supports the timelines. Charcoal from fires. Fragments of rope. That data forms a strong argument for the conventional timeline. The official story emphasizes gradual development. It doesn't see knowledge appearing out of nowhere. It traces a long, slow evolution of building techniques. Early, smaller burial mounds and barrows evolved into more complex structures. Early, rougher pyramids like Djoser's Step Pyramid. A clear learning curve, culminating in the Great Pyramid. Builders learned through trial and error over generations. They weren't given a secret formula. They invented methods through hard work and observation. This celebrates ancestor ingenuity without lost technology claims. A veil of secrecy. Why some suspect a cover-up. In any great mystery, there are those who believe the truth is being deliberately hidden. The study of ancient megaliths is no exception. Some researchers and members of the public suspect that powerful academic institutions and governments are actively suppressing evidence that contradicts the standard historical narrative. The question is, why would they do this? One proposed reason is the preservation of power and control. History is not just a record of the past. It is a story that shapes our present identity and institutions. If it were proven that a highly advanced global civilization existed and was wiped out, it could fundamentally alter our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. Such a revelation could destabilize established religious narratives. Many belief systems are built upon a specific version of history, one that places their own culture at a key point of origin or development. Evidence of a globally shared heritage could challenge these unique claims. For example, the discovery of advanced acoustic levitation technology could have profound implications for modern physics and industry. A government that came into possession of such knowledge might classify it for reasons of national security, fearing the disruptive impact it could have on the global balance of power. Control over energy and technology is, after all, a cornerstone of modern geopolitics. Another, perhaps less conspiratorial reason is academic pride. The field of archaeology, like any academic discipline, is built upon a paradigm, a set of accepted theories and methods. Careers are built, reputations are made, funding is granted based on this established framework. A discovery that overturns a century of scholarship would be deeply disruptive. It is human nature to resist ideas that threaten one's life's work. This does not necessarily imply a malicious cover-up. but rather a powerful institutional bias against radical new theories. Evidence that does not fit the prevailing model may be dismissed as anomalous. It is important to state, however, that there is no concrete proof of any coordinated, widespread suppression of information. Most archaeologists and historians are dedicated professionals seeking the truth, working within the rigorous constraints of the scientific method. They demand high standards of evidence, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. While the idea of a hidden history is tantalizing, the burden of proof lies with those who make the claim. The most likely path to the truth is not through uncovering a conspiracy, but through more research, more fieldwork, and a willingness for all sides to engage with the evidence openly and honestly. The inheritance of the stones. What would it mean if one of the more radical theories about the megaliths were proven true? The consequences would be profound. If ancient builders used acoustic levitation, it would force us to admit that our ancestors possessed a scientific knowledge that we have yet to rediscover. History would no longer be a straight line of progress from primitive to modern. Instead, it would become a cycle of lost knowledge and found knowledge. Peaks of achievement followed by dark ages of forgetting. This would instill in us a new humility, a recognition that for all our modern technology, we may simply be recovering a wisdom that was known thousands of years ago. The practical implications could be just as transformative. Imagine rediscovering a formula for geopolymer concrete. Stronger, cheaper, more environmentally friendly than modern Portland cement. It could revolutionize the construction industry. Imagine understanding the principles of large-scale acoustic engineering. It could unlock new ways to move heavy objects, create new manufacturing processes, perhaps even open doors in physics that we currently believe are locked. The secrets of the past may hold the keys to our future. The study of these ancient stones is not just about satisfying curiosity, it could have a direct and beneficial impact on our own civilization. The ancient megalithic structures stand in silent testimony to a past that is grander, stranger, and more complex than we know. They challenge us to be better scientists, better historians, and more curious human beings. They are a gift from our distant ancestors, a puzzle box waiting for us to find the right key. The search for that key is one of the most exciting intellectual adventures of our time. Let us continue the quest.